in Florida. It opened on April 6, 2007, replacing El Rio de Tiempo, and is housed within the pyramid-shaped structure at the Mexico Pavilion. The attraction was announced on February 23, 2007, although construction began on the ride on January 2, 2007. Now, here I'm going to show you a glimpse. Actually, more than a glimpse, I'm going to show you information about the Mexico Pavilion. So the Mexico Pavilion is the first one you see when you're walking in Epcot, unless you're going in like a crazy direction. Okay, so the Mexico Pavilion is part of World Showcase in Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort. The pavilion opened on October 1st, 1982. The pavilion resembles an ancient Mesoamerican pyramid. Once you enter the pyramid, first you stroll through a museum area, which contains traveling exhibits on a Mexico culture and history. As you exit this museum area, you must enter a plaza on the shores of a lake set at nighttime. The plaza has vendors selling their wares from carts, as well as some buildings with shops on the bottom floor. Also, on the water's edge, there are some romantic Mexican restaurant, the San Angel Inn. From the opening of the pavilion in 1982 to 2007, El Rio de Tiempo was a boat ride that encompassed the culture of Mexico. In 2007, El Rio de Tiempo was given an overhaul to suit the current generation, and thus the Grand Fiesta Tour starring the Three Caballeros opened on April 6, 2007. So that was the Mexico Pavilion. Now, we're going to go to the next pavilion and see if they have any rides in the pavilion too. So, the next pavilion is Norway, and there is a ride in Norway. So, we're going to go over the ride in Norway first. So the first ride in Norway, it's Maelstrom, but now it's called Frozen Ever After. Frozen Ever After is a dark ride attraction at the Epcot theme park in Florida's Walt Disney World Resort, and is expected to come to Hong Kong, Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, and Walt Disney Studios Park as a part of the Norway Pavilion of Epcot's World Showcase section. The attraction features scenes inspired by Disney's 2013 animated film Frozen, as well as the 2015 animated short Frozen Fever. Also has Frozen 2. Some of it. Not really, though. No, actually, Frozen 2 is not in there. It opened on June 21, 2016, and replaced the former Maelstrom attraction, utilizing the same ride vehicles in a similar ride track layout. On September 12, 2014, Walt Disney World officials announced that the Maelstrom attraction would be replaced by an attraction-based Frozen. Maelstrom's final days of the operation was on October 5, 2014. So, now that we went over Frozen Ever After, the ride in Norway, now we have to go to Norway and explain the history and information of Norway, so you want to go there. Okay, so we got Norway now. Norway Pavilion. The Norway Pavilion is part of the World Showcase in Epcot at Walt Disney World Resort. It opened on June 3rd, 1988. It formerly included the Maelstrom ride, the Stave Church, and the Akershus World Banquet Hall, and the Frozen Ever After. Replaced the Maelstrom in June 2016. So now that we went over Norway, we're going to go over the next area of Epcot at Disney. So, if it doesn't have a ride, we skip to the area. But we have a show at least. So China, we're going to go to China. But in China, we got a ride here. So the ride in China is called Reflections of China. So, the Reflections of China is like a theater kind of ride. So Reflections of China is a Circle of Vision 360 movie attraction. I saw this at Epcot at the China Pavilion of Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. The show was narrated by an actor playing Li Bea, an ancient Chinese poet who takes the viewer on a tour of the Chinese countryside and historical structures and buildings. Some sites that even include the Great Wall of China, the Forbidden City, Beijing, Wuhan, Guilin, Hunan, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. Reflections of China was updated Wonders of China, a similar film in 2021. Reflections of China will be replaced by a new film entitled Wondrous China. Man, I guess I got this all for the last time. Okay, so now we're going to go to World Showcase. We're going to go back to World Showcase, and we're going to go to China. And we're going to go over China. Okay. The China Pavilion is a part of the World Showcase within Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort. So here's the layout. Visitors enter the China Pavilion through a large Chinese gate. The courtyard is dominated by a replica of the Temple of Heaven, which contains the entrance to Reflections of China, a Circle Vision 360 movie exploring China's history and scenery, as well as the museum containing several ancient Chinese artifacts. The courtyard is bordered by shops selling Chinese merchandise and 2 Chinese restaurants. The pavilion is decorated with ponds crossed by bridges. Chinese aerobats also performed frequently in the pavilion. Okay, so that was China. Now that we went over China, we're going to go over the next area of Epcot, which is called Germany. In Germany, let's see if it has any rides. We're going to see if it has any rides. It doesn't look like they have any rides. But there was original design for the pavilion to have a boat ride along the Rhine River. It was also to have on a German folktale in similar manner to the Mexico and Norway rides. According to Walt Disney Company, 1976 annual report of the ride to be a cruise down Germany, most famous rivers, and the Rhine and the Tauber, the Ruhr, and the Isar. Detailed miniatures of famous landmarks will also be seen, including one of the Cologne Cathedral. Through the building was built, Disney did not complete the ride construction by opening day. It was announced to be part of the Phase 2 of its expansion. To avoid costs, Disney dropped the Phase 2 attraction and decided that any expansion projects will only be allowed if the host country funded it for. Because the lack of funding, the ride building is now used as storage space. You can see the main entrance hall as its now dining area. For the beer garden, the ride is also used for storage for floats and a workshop and cast member rehearsal space. That's good information, you see. So here's Germany. The original design of a pavilion called for the boat ride, like I said. So now we're going to just talk about Germany. The Germany Pavilion is a part of the World Showcase in Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort. It opened on October 1st, 1982. So Germany is designated to look like Germantown, but with architecture from different eras and regions. The Platz Square is decorated with statues of St. George and the Dragon and the Clock Tower. The beer garden at the rear of the courtyard sells traditional German food. The pavilion also has numerous small shops selling German goods, including dolls and cuckoo clocks. The area near the pavilion is decorated by extensive model village with working model trains. So, characters from Walt Disney animated features Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, which inspired the version of tale attributed to the Brothers Grimm, makes appearances around the pavilion. So, that was Germany. So, the next area in Epcot in World Showcase is Italy. So, Italy is the next area in Epcot. We're almost getting to the end, so I hope you subscribe if you like this content here. It took me a long time, so I would appreciate it if you can subscribe. It would make my day. Please. Okay, so this is the Italy Pavilion. Italy Pavilion is the part of the World Showcase within Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort. The Italy Pavilion features a plaza surrounded by a collection of buildings evocative of Venetian, Florentine, and a Roman architecture. Venetian architecture is represented by a recreation of St. Mark's Campanile Bell Tower and a replica of the Doge's Palace. The pavilion design is inspired by other hallmarks of Italian architecture, such as the Neptune's Fountain, the Rome Trevi Fountain, and the Second Bel Cristo shop, meant to resemble the exterior of the Sistine Chapel. Musicians, clowns, and acting troupes often appear in the pizza throughout the day. There also are small shops selling Italian goods such as candy and wine. If you are wondering if Italy had any rides or any plans, they had original plans for the pavilion to call an expansion that would be built in Epcot's Phase 2 of the construction, thus leaving a wall with nothing behind it at the rear of the pavilion. The expansion would have included a gondola dark ride and Roman ruins through a walkthrough. When Phase 2 was canceled, the pavilion was left incomplete. However, the restaurant was named by Via Napoli, designed by the Florentine architects Stefano Nardini and Raffaella Melucci, opened under the Patiana Restaurant Group in 2010 and brought the pavilion its long-awaited completion. It features Florentine architecture and authentic Napoleon cuisine. The water used to make the pizza dough was imported from the Pennsylvania to simulate authentic Napoleon dough. Via Napoli's 3 wood-burning ovens pay tribute to the 3 active volcanoes in Italy, Etna, Vesuvio, and Stromboli. Due to this, each of the 3 ovens are sculpted in the shape of the face of the god that their corresponding volcano is named after. The long communal table in the center of the room was built in Florence and features hand-painted tiles displaying icons, monuments in Italy. Other notable features of Via Napoli are its high and vaulted ceilings, imported ceramics, and blown glass, and the abundance of windows that flood the establishment with natural light. So that's kind of cool that happened. Okay, so now we went over Italy. So the next thing to go to, the next country is the American Adventure, which is of course America. So let's go to America. For America, there's a show, but there's no rides. So the American Adventure is the host pavilion of the World Showcase within Epcot and the Walt Disney World Resort. It is also the name of the pavilion's main attraction and audio animatronic stage to show American history. So that's the American Adventure. That's a show. The American Pavilion was present in the plans for Epcot Center. Once it has arrived, it was merged to Future World and Future World West Showcase. Concept in the late 70s and early layouts between the American Adventure would have straggled the border between the 2 areas and feature a more futuristic look design as it was throughout the host of World Showcase would take center stage. It was quickly decided, however, that the U.S. couldn't overshadow the other nations, and it was moved to the back of World Showcase, where it could still play a role in centerpiece, but require guests to travel along the world to get there. So, the show within the American Adventure underwent a number of different drafts, as finding the right tone and the story was difficult. Imagineer Mark Davis worked on a number of concepts for the American Adventure, ranging from a 1975 proposal for a dark ride that was a whimsical and musical explosion of American history and culture. It was more serious explosions in American folktale and history figures. During 1976, concepts during this period grouped different figures from across America and history together. Based on the shared identities, with a piece based on the American humorist putting Mark Twain, Benjamin Franklin, and Will Rogers together, inspiring the final show. Davis would leave the project shortly afterwards. So that's kind of the American Adventure show. So that was the American Adventure show, and America is the area. This is kind of a sketch of the American Adventure ride right here. That's a good sketch they made. So there you go. So we went over America. So since we went over America, after America, you got Japan. Okay, we're coming to the end now. A couple more. Japan is the part of the World Showcase at Epcot, at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. The Japan Pavilion is made up of a building surrounded by a courtyard. The entrance to the courtyard features a Japanese pagoda modeled after the Horyuji Temple in Nara, whose 5 levels represent the 5 elements of Earth: water, fire, the wind, and sky, and Buddhist teaching. The Torii Gate and the Itsukashiyama Shrine decorates the water in front of the pavilion. The area is filled with Japan pools and gardens. At the end of the courtyard is the gate to a replica of the Shiragashi-jo, a 17th century Japan fortress in Himeji, complete with a moat which leads to the display of a Japanese culture. So that was the Japanese, or should I say Japan. It is the Japan Pavilion. So the next area on this list is Morocco. The Morocco Pavilion is the World Showcase of Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. It opened on September 7th, 1984, as a part of the first expansion to be added at the World Showcase. On December 10th, 2020, since Tangeretti Cafe is now temporarily closed due to a lack of demand at Walt Disney World, it reopened after being temporarily closed in late March. Epcot announced that all the restaurants and shopping are temporarily closed for a short period ahead of due COVID-19. But they're getting better. Let me go over more what it looks like and some of the layout. So, the Morocco Pavilion is designed to look like a Moroccan city with realistic mini-aircraft features. Only the pavilion in which the country's government aided this design. Guests to the pavilion gain insight on lifestyle and culture of the Moroccan people through the gallery and arts of history. The Fez Houses shows guests typically Moroccan house inside the pavilion. Northern Africa plants include circus trees, dates, palms, and olive trees. The pavilion plays host to entertainment, including a belly dancing show and in the evening. So that's basically some of the details of the Morocco Pavilion. So the next pavilion that we have on today's list is the France Pavilion. We have 2 more after France. 2 more. We're getting to the end. Really close. I mean it this time. So, France is the part of World Showcase in Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. France is the theme to look like Paris neighborhood, with a pool and fountains and view of an Eiffel Tower in the distance. Most of the shops and streets are actually shops selling French goods, such as Guerlain, perfume. The pavilion also features Impressions de France, a movie which visits France cities and historical structures. A Destination D 2018, D23, it was announced that Beauty and the Beast sing-along film would join Impressions de France in altering a feature. It also includes 2 French restaurants, the Bristol de Paris and the Les Chefs de France, and a bakery and gardens near the International Gateway Bridge and Canal are inspired by George's paintings, and a Sunday afternoon on the island of a Larganet Jetty. So, that was kind of the layout of Paris. But if you want to know about some good information, I'm going to show you right now. There's a ride. Finally, we got some new rides here, and it's called, you ready to hear it? Get ready. It's called Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. So, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is actually open right now, but it is also known as a attraction in Epcot is a motion-based trackless 3D dark ride based on the 2007 Disney/Pixar animated film Ratatouille at Walt Disney World Studios Park. And Epcot's version of the attraction will be released to celebrate Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, and actually did open for the 50th. The attraction was revealed as part of the internet's rumors of an expansion of Walt Disney World's Park Toon studio area. Other rumors about the expansion include a reincarnation of the popular Toy Story Midway Mania attraction to be put in the operating Toy Story Playland. Ratatouille's L'Adventure Tournament is one of the biggest additions to Disneyland. The neighboring Disneyland park, and it cost an estimated $270 million to complete. Following the initial rumors article on the internet surfaced concept paintings such as ride blueprints and images for the first pages of construction, confirming that this would be such an attraction. The attraction is particularly convinced by the Imagineering team as a modern equivalent to Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, with more physical sets and early modeling stages before production media was deemed more practical. So, that's some good information about Remy's Ratatouille ride. So that was the ride in France. So, France was good. Now, the next pavilion after France is the United Kingdom. Now, we have one more after this. It's Canada after this. So, the United Kingdom Pavilion. The United Kingdom Pavilion is a part of the World Showcase at Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. The United Kingdom Pavilion, designed to look like a typical British village, looks like one out of 100 villages that are in the UK, although it could be argued that is one more stereotype building based on different periods of British horticulture. There are British gardens, including a hedge maze. The shops sell British items such as tea, toys, clothing, and Beatles merchandise. There's also a band called the British Invasion that performs hits and acts from such as the Police, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Blur, and Led Zeppelin. Daily in the pavilion, the Rose and Crown Pub and dining room serves traditional British food as well as beer and all. There are also a quick service counter serving traditional fish and chips. There's also a sports shop selling British sport equipment, including Chelsea FC and then Liverpool FC shirts, along with the shop selling traditional British stuff. At the 2019 D23 Expo, an expansion to the pavilion based on the Mary Poppins was announced, with a new neighborhood based on Cherry Tree Lane serving as the facade for Mary Poppins Dark Ride. So, this is going to happen, but it's not happening yet. It's going to happen around 2022, around there. So, the Mary Poppins ride. Let's talk about the Mary Poppins ride in the United Kingdom. So, the Mary Poppins ride in United Kingdom is an upcoming ride attraction which is being developed in the United Kingdom Pavilion at Epcot's World Showcase. On September 13, 2018, despite rumors of a dark ride being in development, it appeared that a Mary Poppins flat ride would be instead of the attraction getting added to Epcot's United Kingdom Pavilion. A flat ride believed to be a spinner such as Dumbo and the Flying Elephant, most likely the Jolly Holiday Scene Carousel, in the early stages of development for the World Showcase Pavilion. It is unknown exactly what the theme of the ride will be, but it seems like unlikely the UK Pavilion would expand in any way. It was rumored with the addition of a full-blown ride attraction for Mary Poppins. The ride would likely replace the garden and bandstand area towards the back of the existing pavilion. World Showcase would serve these plans as it's a profitable venue used for many events, including annual party for census. So this looks good. Mary Poppins is going to be a good ride. So that was Mary Poppins the ride. We don't know a lot about it, but I try to get you all the information you can because you have theme park films on your side. Okay, so the next to last pavilion is Canada. Okay, Canada. Canada is part of World Showcase in Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort. So, here is Canada. Prior to the construction of the pavilion, Walt Disney Productions had financial support of the themed pavilion from the Canada government. The company wanted the federal government to fund the cost of the building of the attraction. In return, the government would have input into the design and layout. The Canada government was concerned about the stereotype of Canada that Disney wanted. Funding was refused, and Disney threatened to put an exhibit, but ultimately did not. At one time during planning, the pavilion was to have been divided by a main street of shops and restaurants, with one side representing French Canada and other English Canada. The Canada Pavilion is designed to remind guests that Canada outdoors. It includes a canyon, waterfall, garden with pool, and poles. The main attraction is O Canada, Circle Vision 360, movie that takes guests on a tour of the country, including its landmarks, so cities, scenery, and people. The pavilion also includes a steakhouse and a permanent home of the Celtic rock band Off Kilter, which was replaced by a show featuring Canadian lumberjack competition. So, that's really Canada. And I told you it has like a show. Okay, so the last pavilion for Epcot is... That was it. That's all the areas and all the rides and all the information you need about roller coasters and more. Because that's Theme Park Films, and we give all the information you need. So now we can answer Tiffany's question now. So Tiffany, what do you think? Is it worth going? After you got all this information, do you think it's worth going to Epcot? Comment down below if you think it was. And make sure you subscribe. Well, I know you did. Okay, so thank you for Theme Park Films making this video. And now, my opinion, I would go to Epcot, and I've been to Epcot, actually. I've been there 2 times. So, Epcot, when I went, it was worth it. So, that's your opinion now. It's all up to you now. Okay, so that was Theme Park Films, and I'm out. And make sure you subscribe if you want more videos like this. It took me a long time, so I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. And like the video. And comment down below if you want to go to Epcot or not. That's it for Theme Park Films. I'm out.